covering finance and consulting. And even though I'm coming to you live from downtown Boston, I have a lot more in common with you than you think. I went to Middlebury College, so I know what it's like to be a liberal arts student trying to get into finance. And another fun fact is that I actually spent my school-age years in Brunswick, Maine. So I know exactly where you're going when you make your way from your building to lunch and around the campus. So anyway, with what I'm going to present to you today, it may feel like we are having you drink through a fire hose. We don't want anything that we say to make you more stressed about the job search. We're really trying to just give you the information, allow you to hear some of the words once or twice. So when you hear them again down the line, you'll say, oh, I remember that. So again, we're going to go through this presentation, have some Q&A at the end. And what I'll bring to you when I'm sharing this is a multi-decade career in finance, where I was an equity research analyst in both New York City and Boston at hedge funds and mutual funds from when I graduated college until on and off while I raised kids until last year before I joined Bowdoin. So a lot has changed since I entered the industry, but I want to really help you, and we all at CXD want to help you feel comfortable enough so that when you're interviewing, you know that you're on the same stead as someone who came to that area with a finance background, with a business degree. You will easily be able to compete for all of those same roles. So with that, we will shift in. So you're sitting there now with a liberal arts education, you're studying a lot of different areas, and you're wondering, why might I want to go into finance? I am biased because I went into finance, but I will give you a lot of the pros and then a few of the cons, and you can really use this as another tool in your quiver of areas that you want to explore further. So again, why finance? I found that finance was really a great place because you built these strong foundational skills that you will take with you throughout your life. You'll learn accounting. You'll learn financial modeling. You'll have exposure to businesses. You might want to start your own business at some point, and you'll look back on your time as an analyst and think, that's great that I know how to do this. If you get into finance and you want to pivot at any point in your life, it is a really solid foundation to go into your next job, whether it be in consulting, a corporate role, or another role within finance. A neat aspect that I enjoyed coming out of college is you get a relatively high level of power and influence early in your career. You're the one helping these companies make decisions. I was the one right out of college as a research analyst meeting with the CEO of a huge company. And I didn't know much, and I learned so much from that person. So you'd never have that opportunity somewhere else. It's a steep learning curve. And I think for anyone who's intellectually curious, that's great. You have a challenging work environment. Things are different every day. And the best thing about finance is there's really a role for everyone. If you want to be with people, if you're extroverted, there's a role for you. If you'd rather sit in an office and read and ponder all day, there's a role for you as well. So no matter what your personality, you can find a role within finance that you will be pleased with. Last but not least, compensation. So you never want to say you're going in it for the money, but you are working hard. And it's nice to know that you will get rewarded with an above average salary. And if you put in a few years of hard work, you might have a down payment for a house, and you can pivot and go out and do something else. The cons, we all know, we see the movies, the long work hours, it's a stressful environment. The competition is good and bad depending on your personality, as is the fast-paced work environment. If you want to go into banking and some of the bigger financial roles, you might be limited to major cities, but with remote work nowadays, anything is possible. This is a quick graphic from Corporate Finance Institute that shows a lot of the finance career paths. We typically think of the top half when we talk about investment banking and some of the roles that we're going to get into, but there's a whole other area on the bottom half, the accounting, the consulting, working for a company, and also insurance, sales, all of these tangential areas to finance. So some of the roles, we mentioned them earlier, and you hear them day in and day out. So we're all here to find out what is investment banking, and our friends at Callan might tell us more about that tomorrow night, and Anna Constantine talked to us a bit about it last night. But basically, investment bankers help companies raise capital through debt and equity offerings. And they also help companies work on corporate actions, M&A, spin-offs, restructurings. You are the expert and you are providing this advice to a company. Sales and trading. That's another area that you can go into at an investment bank. Most people lump the two together, but they're two distinct roles. There's the sales division within an investment bank, which partners and sells research to clients. Clients have to buy the research somehow. So what do? They trade through your investment bank's trading desk. And so the money is passed that way. So the selling is the research, the buying is through the trades. Equity research. I am terribly biased towards this because this is where I spent my career, but you're basically an expert in a company, in an industry. You find out all of the information you're gathering, you're researching, you're writing reports, and you ultimately are the one making the recommendation as to whether to buy, hold, sell a security, short, depending on what medium you're trading in. Asset management, self-explanatory. Asset managers manage the investments of their clients. The job as an asset manager in a perfect world is to grow the client's portfolio. You want to grow it in the least risky manner possible. These are high net worth individuals, a lot of pension funds, governments, and corporations. Private equity, this is the shiny object right now. Private equity is just what the name says, private. Companies make direct investments in private companies. These are companies that are not typically traded on a stock exchange. Private equity firm will buy this company with hopes of making it more profitable, with hopes of spinning it back out and selling it at a profit. And investment strategies, include leverage buyout, venture capital, and growth capital. The last one is private wealth management. Think of this as a financial advisor. They provide advice to their clients, namely high net worth individuals, about how to grow your personal wealth, how to preserve wealth. And again, it's much like asset management, but on an individual level. So now we have an idea of some of the roles in finance. And here at CXD, we will give you tips on how to get into finance as an undergraduate at a liberal arts school. Again, nothing we're going to say should worry you, make you feel like you're behind. If you're at a different part of this timeline, don't worry. There's always time to catch up. And even the seniors that come to me and to Vicki asking for a role in finance, there are still jobs out there. So the first thing you really have to do is keep your GPA high. Try your hardest for the classes that you're enrolled in right now. And if something happens and you slip, again, there is a job out there for you. So with anything I say, don't let this be a cause for stress. The biggest shock, I think, to me when I came to Bowdoin in January, after having interviewed about 20 plus years ago for my first job, that was at a liberal arts institution, investment banks are recruiting during your sophomore spring for your junior summer internship. So it is a 12 to 18 month interview ahead of when you will step into your job. So that, again, mind blowing, but unfortunately that's how it works these days, and we'll do our best to get you ready for that. So you do have to start early. You have to think about this. Sophomore year is key. So again, students in their sophomore spring are generally recruiting for both their sophomore summer internship and their junior summer internship. And the junior summer internship is your primary goal. It is the job that might be handed to you post-graduation if you do a good job over the summer and impress the right people. A great thing about the difference from when I was applying and going into finance and now is many of the investment banks have really taken aim at recruiting historically excluded populations. So they have these early insight programs where they take a group of students in, and it's a slow ramp about the bank, the process, and it's a wonderful way to gain insight on what a role is and, again, the bank itself. So here's the infamous Wall Street recruiting timeline. And again, don't let any of it shock you. You'll see in the green box, the Super Day Zone, junior internship. What does this mean in English? This means from the spring of your sophomore year into about the summer, and it gets earlier and earlier every year, you'll be in the midst of interviewing for this role that you want for your junior summer. Super Day is a term that is used on the last round of interviews. It is your super day. You have hit interview 1, 2, maybe 3. You are now being asked to either fly in to the firm itself or do a Zoom interview with 2 or 3 or 4 more senior people. And this is your make and break. So right there is our zone. So how do you prepare for this? You're a freshman. You're thinking, now I want to do finance. Where do I go next? Not going to go through all of these because we'll hit them further on, but really you want to just get information into your head. You want to research, you want to really understand the roles, and you want to think more about yourself. So explore, learn, we'll show you resources, come to CXD, we'll work with you on a resume. We will ask you, have you joined one of the great clubs on campus? We will describe them in a bit, but that's a wonderful way to gain exposure. And we'll also talk to you a bit about applying to these experiential learning programs that are available for freshmen and sophomores mainly at the investment banks as a way to get more comfortable with a role, and again, with a bank, with financial terms, and it's a preview of what to expect further. So that is what you might want to do this year as a freshman. The biggest challenge for a liberal arts student, which ends up working out quite well, but you at Bowdoin don't have an accounting or financial statement analysis business track. You have economics, which is a wonderful study, but it doesn't get you exactly what you need to thrive in an investment banking interview. So what do? You have to supplement your work at Bowdoin with continuing education. So Bowdoin has a partnership with Harvard Business School, the core program, or Wharton Business School Online is another one that you can go into. And I will talk to you more about this. And this summer after the freshman year is a wonderful time to do continuing ed. And the summer after the freshman year is a wonderful time to participate in Bowdoin's funded internship program. This is the sleeper on campus. This is free money. So if there are a few things to take away from today, I want this to be one of them. Through your 4 years at Bowdoin, you should really try to apply to and take advantage of $6,000 that you can get with a job that you are job shadowing. It is a great way when you have no experience to go to someone in your network and say, I'm smart, I'm available remotely or in person. Can we set up a job for me for next summer? You can take project work. You can do a lot of things and it will go on your resume. So that's your first year. Your second year, you should do all of what you were supposed to have done or could do your freshman year. Continue on with that track. Apply to more experiential learning programs. Look for these sophomore summer internships. And with any luck, you're going to start to interview. The summer after your sophomore year, you can either go into this internship that you might have secured, or again, if you didn't use the funded internship freshman year, please use it sophomore year. It is an amazing experience, and you will be networking all of that summer. You will hopefully come out of sophomore year with a job for your junior year summer internship. So over your junior year, you're able to relax a bit more. Really setting your sight to excel in that internship in the summer. And then you'll find out whether or not you have an offer. Either way, it will work out. CXD is there to support you along this whole process. And then your senior year, depending where you are, you're either not interviewing and sharing all of your great experience with the underclassmen, or you're still interviewing, and we have no doubt you'll end up somewhere where you're happy. So let's just go through these a little bit more. The first, connect with CXT. I said there are a few things I want you to take away from today. The most important thing that we would like to impress upon you right now is to make sure that your career interests in Handshake are updated. You may have clicked through these boxes when you were a freshman. You may have done it at sophomore boot camp. You may have come into Bowdoin thinking you wanted to be pre-med. So when you clicked the boxes, they were all sciences. And while Danny has a great newsletter, it's not mine and Vicky's, so it won't help you in finance. So what do you do? When you leave today, please go back to Handshake. Hover over your initials as you see on the right hand of the slide. Drop down to where it says My Career Interests, and please click something in the Finance and Consulting box. What that does is that allows Handshake to deliver our weekly newsletter to you. Handshake will then deliver job opportunities to you if we send an email with them in our basket. So if you don't have our box checked, you won't get the email. Next, meet with one of us. Click in Handshake, grab an appointment with me or Vicky. Grab an appointment with a peer advisor. These are great resources at Bowdoin. The peer advisors are your fellow students who have been right where you are. We can all discuss roles with you. We can prep resumes. We can do your LinkedIn profile, which you want. You'll do it in sophomore boot camp, but unfortunately in finance, you need this done sooner, so find us. We'll help you with cover letters. We'll also help you how to network, which is a big part of getting your next job, and we'll hit it in a future slide. We'll hit more of this on the slides ahead, but I really want to impress that you should also look at all of the events in Handshake. Lots of banks come to campus. Right now we have Cowen tomorrow. We have an alum from Bloomberg next week. There are often many on-campus opportunities, and this is a way for you to meet people at the firm, knowing that the firm will track the attendance of Bowdoin students. So when you're applying, it looks great that you've been to a lot of their on-campus events and you've met a lot of people at the firm. The other thing, I did hit it again on the slide prior, but apply to these experiential learning and early insights programs. They're a great way to get a preview of the banks and also a preview of what's ahead in the interview process. The bottom of the slide shows you where a lot of the resources are that we've been mentioning on this PowerPoint. So I'll breeze through this because we've talked about it a bit, but you really want to identify the role of interest to you. So we've talked about there are a lot of roles out there. Which one makes you happy? Which one do you think you'd enjoy the most? So you can read a lot. Again, this is part of research gathering. Read firsthand, read the guides on Street of Walls, read the guides in Investopedia. What is investment banking? Ask yourself again, is this something that I like? Attend employer events. And you also are going to start networking. Meet with upperclassmen. That's the easiest way to start your networking. Most of those students in investment banking and any of the other financial careers have been where you are. They can share every tip they've used. And I've gone to a lot of your peers for help in pulling together the technical interview guide and trying to brush up on what has happened in the 20 plus years that I've been out of your seat. So these are great resources. Bowdoin alumni, we have a page on networking. You want to reach out to as many people as possible. Expand your network beyond Bowdoin. Go to LinkedIn, talk to friends, talk to family. Every person out there is a potential conversation. So you really want to think about that. And again, gather research, ask questions. What are banks looking for when they see your resume? They want to see that you have a genuine interest in finance. Not that you just showed up at their interview and you crammed and so you're book smart. You have to show them that you've been thinking about this for some time. So how do you do it? You start with reading perhaps the Wall Street Journal, reading some of the business sections. You get all of these newspapers free through the library. So sign up, listen to podcasts, really start to immerse yourself in the world of finance. Like we said, finance experience for an underclassman doesn't have to be an normally isn't an office job. You may have started, let's say, a landscaping business over a summer. You know a lot more about finance than you think. You've probably taken in money from your clients. You've probably maybe even paid other people. You have done a lot more with finance than you think, and you can put this on your resume and spin it very positively as one of your many careers in a pre-finance role. Companies also want you to be well-rounded. They want you to pursue outside interests. They don't want this one-dimensional person. So please continue to do everything you do outside of school. Compete in sports, study music, have fun. And this is my favorite part. The interest line on the resume is the one where you'll build this personal relationship with a person pulling your resume from a stack. And I always like to tell students with whom I'm meeting that when I was recruiting for our firm, everybody looks the same. You're all wonderfully talented. You have great GPAs, some saving the world. You have Morgan Stanley, you have these brand names on your resume. So how do I know that you're different? I'll want to talk to you at some point, but how do I make the jump from a piece of paper to the first phone call? It's probably in the interest section, and I will be truthful in that I have picked like candidates just because I wanted to hear more about what was in that interest line. So be creative, don't be too creative, but it's a real fun way to differentiate yourself. So flipping to Bowdoin. We have 3 great finance groups at Bowdoin College: the Bowdoin Finance Society, Smart Women Securities, and the Polar Investment Club. I would highly recommend that you join as many as you can. You can join for the email distribution list. You can work with them to find the amount of time that you can commit to each, but you really should have at least one on your resume if you're looking to pursue an investment banking role. Bowdoin has a lot of skill building. We have Wall Street Prep. Wall Street Prep is coming Saturday, November 5th. This is a firm that provides educational resources, day-long seminars to business schools, to undergraduate institutions. And you will learn accounting and financial statement analysis on Saturday the 5th in an 8-hour crash course. You will also have 12 months of allowable use of the content on the Wall Street Prep website. We have Coursera, which is an online course through Bowdoin. It's free. You can take accounting courses. You can take that Wharton Business School online course I told you about for free. LinkedIn Learning has some quick Excel courses that you might want to take to brush up before you start an internship. And the Forage is a new, really neat virtual work experience program. It's a website that's partnered with the big investment banks. And because remote work has really taken off, they have project-based work, 5 to 6 hour commitment. And you as a student will go through the work, a day in the life of someone on the other side in whatever role. You can add these to your resume. There are some strict parameters, but it's a great way, again, if you can't get a job, you don't have time, take a weekend day and pop it on your resume. The other coursework that you can do, we hit a bit upon HBS Core. And that, again, a program that Bowdoin partners with. You'll hear about it in the spring under the Career Accelerator program. Bowdoin has financial aid available for students who qualify for financial aid at Bowdoin, so you're not paying the whole price. It's an intense 150-hour long course, but it really does teach you the fundamentals, and it helps the recruiters on the other side see that you mean what you say when you say you're interested in finance. Tuck Bridge just came to campus. This is Dartmouth. They do a program in the summer that's significantly more expensive than HBS Core, but it's a great experience and it might be for you. Learn more about it. And then Wharton, I said you could grab through Coursera. So the other way, again, to show finance interest is through these experiential learning programs and also the early insight programs. And how to find them is below in Handshake. So build your network. We talked a lot about networking. Bowdoin has a tremendous amount of alumni out there willing to help you. We have the resources. We'll show you how to find all of these people, but you really want to start early. Interviewing at Bowdoin is a unique situation. Bowdoin is not a target school for many of the big investment banks, actually for any of the big investment banks. Bowdoin obviously breeds smart and talented individuals, but you yourself have to make the connections at Goldman with an alumni. You have to make the connections at Morgan Stanley, and you alone have to keep up on their recruiting timeline in order to be considered there. Mid-size and boutique firms like Barclays, like RBC, like Cowen, you'll see, and they will, and they do come to campus. Cowen again is here tomorrow. And so those are opportunities that are easier, but the others aren't out of reach. When you network, you want to have your resume together. You want to have a quick elevator pitch describing who you are. You want to show that you know the role. Don't ask basic questions unless you're speaking with a peer or someone who's junior. And know that every bank keeps a record of conversations with the prospective candidates, from the online events to the on-campus events, to the phone calls, to the emails. Make a good impression. Don't send an email with spelling mistakes. And get organized. This is the most important thing when you're networking. Right now, it might seem great. You've talked to 5 people. You can remember the names, remember the firms. That's not really networking. That's having conversations. You need to talk with tens, even 100 plus people to really be networking. At that point, I can't keep names straight. Maybe you're better than I am, but I'd suggest an Excel spreadsheet to track everything. If you don't like Excel, there is an online job search tool called Jackfruit. I have not gone through it in its entirety, but it might be for you. How do you have this informal conversation? What do you do? Start with a quick email. You're not asking for a job. You're asking the alum on the other side to tell you how they made the transition from Bowdoin to the seat they're at today. You want tips. You want to hear from them. You want their experience. Be curious. Don't be robotic. This is a conversation. It's not too casual a conversation, but it is a conversation. You want to make a personal connection with this person. And I guarantee on some of these calls, you will have periods of awkward silence. It's not you. The person on the other side might have been free when you emailed 2 weeks ago, but now is trying to hit deadlines, talk to you, and multitask. Ask questions of them if you're in an area of awkward silence, if you feel the call isn't going well. And that, again, will bring the person back around. But don't take anything from a conversation personally, because you never know how you're hitting someone at any point in the day. Most important thing, this is the third most important thing I'd like you to take away from today. When you're networking, please ask that contact on the phone for one more individual that you could contact and ask about their experience. And what this does is naturally broaden your network. It gives you a warm lead for your next phone call. You would never have to look in LinkedIn again if you did this each and every call. And the great thing is this person will probably have a more targeted answer for you than someone you'd pull off LinkedIn. And lastly, please send a thank you note. Thank the person for their time, short and sweet. And again, don't be afraid to circle back. If you've made a connection, you have a job, and you want to show excitement. You never know when this person will come back to you at a future point in your job search. With the spreadsheet, again, everything in your head gets jumbled. If you've just gotten off the phone with someone at a firm and you've said, I'm going to follow up in a week, I want you to put that in a follow-up column on your spreadsheet. So you can sort on a Sunday night and say, who did I promise I was going to get back to today, and do it. And again, the best thing is to start with someone junior and work your way to senior management so you're more comfortable by the end. Okay, so we've now figured out what we want to do. We've done all our work. We have a great resume. We're networking. Wow, we need to actually find opportunities, because you could network until you're blue in the face and never have an actual job to which to apply. So how do you do that? So I'm biased, but the best place, of course, is Vicki and my weekly finance and consulting newsletter. So you'll receive this if you check that box and handshake, and you won't if you haven't. So make sure you do that. But we attach a spreadsheet like the one on the slide to our weekly newsletter. And Handshake for You is a very intriguing web interface. You look at jobs, it gives you a pretty little web page that you look at. Handshake for the career advisors is a bit better. And I am sorry for that, but we try to bring our experience to you. We can sort jobs, we can export bulk types of jobs into a spreadsheet, manipulate it, and then send it back out to you. And that's what we're doing on a weekly basis. So when you get our newsletter, I'll take 2 minutes to just quickly go through this. We highlight new jobs that have come on within the past week. And it's really mean, but investment banks sometimes only put jobs on Handshake for 4 or 5 days. And if you don't look, you'll miss the opportunity. So the first column, highlighted green, are new jobs. The second column is the job ID. We give you a snapshot of the job. Take the job ID, put it in the jobs area of Handshake. It will give you the entire description and application. The applicants is the fourth column. How many peers of yours from Bowdoin have applied? You see there are a lot of zeros on this, a lot of opportunities missed. This job type column is one I want to highlight. You'll see internships, you'll see jobs, you'll see experiential learning programs. And if you click the little caret, it will give you filter options. So if you're a freshman or early sophomore looking, maybe you just want to click and look at the experiential learning programs. Know that the descriptions and job types are only as good as the employers who put the information into Handshake. They may think their internship is a job, so it comes up as a job. So look at both tabs for jobs and for internships. The last thing I really want to highlight is the expiration date. Handshake uses a non-standard time zone. So when I export all of this data into Excel and I manipulate it for you, the expiration date can be off by 12 to 24 hours. What that means is you could miss an opportunity thinking that you have until tomorrow. So what you really need to do, if you like a job, you need to pull it up yourself with the job ID in Handshake. You need to double check the expiration date and you need to own that yourself. This is just a tool. On the location tab, a column, and that's the last one we'll talk about, Handshake again only chooses one location for a job posting. So as you know, job postings might have a handful of locations for the bigger firms like Morgan Stanley. On our sheet, it might only show Boston. So again, don't take everything at face value with this, but it's a great place to start. CXD sends a newsletter as well. It pulls things from Handshake, but it might be the second time you're seeing it, and it might look more interesting in the format coming from Leah. There are, all of the investment banks have their own websites. They have the recruiting areas. You should absolutely go to Goldman, go to Morgan, go to Cowen, go to all of the investment banks, sign up directly for their emails. A lot of their jobs don't even get posted. Word of mouth, and it's through these websites that you'll find out what's going on. This is the next one, Adventus, something new for Bowdoin. There are a lot of websites trying to aggregate all of the information. And Adventus is really one of the better ones. Yes, they'll try to upsell you a course on financial statement analysis, but what they have in the opportunities section is a lot of internships, a lot of jobs, and a lot of experiential learning programs. And again, it's a work in process you can't filter, but I find it's a great resource to overlay with the job spreadsheet. And then the last thing, don't be afraid to search a job board. I've created a lot of profiles just to see what's out there and get a fair amount every day. So these are ways you'll find your jobs. Interviews, we're not going to spend a lot of time here, but we can if you meet with us. So the bar for finance interviews is high. You need to prep. You cannot just go right in. The interview content varies on the role, and we have things that show you what you may or may not need to know. We don't know exactly because we're not interviewing you, but we have a general idea. The interviews for finance do consist of the behavioral questions. Walk me through your resume. What are your strengths? But on top of that, they have a technical side. The technical questions are really to weed out people who understand finance to some degree. Because you're a liberal arts student, They may not hold you at the same bar as someone from UPenn. They may, though. We don't know. So we want you to be as prepared as possible. We don't want you to prepare for the technical side of your interview at the expense of the behavioral side, because at the end of the day, the person talking to you wants to know if they should be sitting next to you for 10 to 15 hours a day. Do they want to fly around the country with you doing deals? Are you a person they relate to? So that, again, the behavioral side is really important. So don't ignore that for the technical prep. And the 3 whys, I guarantee you'll get. Why this role, why this company, and why you. So hammer those down. How do you do all of this, Kate, you ask? Go to Handshake. We have a lot of interview prep there. What we are publishing within the next week is a technical finance interview guide that will walk you step by step through how to prep for these interviews. By the time you interview, you hopefully will have been absorbing business news daily via the newspapers that we talked about, via the podcast. You've been taking the courses, so you now have an idea of what a financial statement is. You can participate in CXD's alumni mock interview program, where Bowdoin alum graciously donate their time to talk to you and to press you. We also have a great new resource at Bowdoin called Big Interview. It's an AI interview tool, and it is somewhat like HireVue. So some of you sitting out there who haven't interviewed yet will say, what is HireVue? It is the best and worst thing that has ever happened to the interview process. It is good for a lot of big firms because it will weed out candidates through a virtual interview. What does it do? So you've applied to JP Morgan and you get an email back that says, congratulations, please complete step 1 of the interview process. And what they're going to have you do is log onto your computer, turn on your camera, press a button, and a question will pop up on the screen, and you will be asked to answer that question. Move through for the 20 minutes, hit send, and it goes back to the bank. The bank reviews that first round, and that's how you're being marked right there. So what Big Interview does is it is also a camera tool on your computer, so you can practice. You see me waving my hand. I might want to calm that down when I do an interview. It shows you your poise. It talks to, you can see your speed. And with Big Interview, you can email practice interviews to friends and family, and they can critique you too. We also have some custom questions, so it's not just behavioral. You can do a custom finance module, a custom consulting module, and it will take you through some of the questions that you might be asked. The last place to go for interview questions is Glassdoor. When you come out of an interview, if you do log on to Glassdoor, you have the option of writing in some of the interview questions and your thoughts about it. So it aggregates a lot of the information, biased or not, you make the choice from someone who has gone through the same process. So we are now going to look backwards and try to absorb everything that came in. On your left, we have sort of a first year to-do list. If you're not a first year, if you're just jump back to this list, it's great. It says the same things we just went through. Show an interest in finance. Read our weekly finance and consulting newsletter and go through the spreadsheet. If you don't understand it, if you've forgotten about how to access or use the spreadsheet, there's a first tab of instructions, but there are also emails to Vicki and to me, and we are there to help you. You go to these online Zoom sessions, on-campus information sessions, and in the weekly newsletter, you'll find a 4th tab, a general events tab. These are different than anything you'll find on Handshake. These are events that the corporations do for most undergraduates across the country. Not very personal Zoom events, but as you'll find, there may only be 5 people that sign up for one time, so they're great opportunities. And then lastly, you want to visit with peer advisors, look on Handshake, visit with CXD. And then sophomore year, you have the same thing as well as the freshman, but you really want to up your networking and you want to start interviewing. So I think with that, I have just dumped a tremendous amount of information on you. I am happy to open it up for questions. We will send this to you. We will have it posted on Handshake, and we're here to help.